want to talk a little about expectation and specifically, in the creative process and how going in with a certain expectation can actually do more harm than good. Um, to start, I wanted to make this video. I walked down my street to this little trail I run on a lot right by the creek. Thought it would be the perfect place to set up, hang out, do a couple videos, read, and it was roped off for whatever reason. Um, and because I had that expectation that I was going to post up there, I was kind of bummed when I got there and saw that that wasn't going to happen. So I turned around, went to walk back home, and as I'm walking along the street, I look up to this area here, and this is somewhere I pass every day when I go on a run. Like, the street is just down the hill a little bit, and I just looked up and thought that looks like it could be a fun place to hike up to a little bit. And so kind of tying that back into music, like if you go in and you think, "Oh, this session is going to turn out like this," then you're kind of like forcing yourself into that area that maybe that's not what you're called to do that day. And if you're so, narrow minded or so focused on this one outcome, then you miss all this other, all the other magical possibilities. And so, come back around to coming to the spot here, if I hadn't got in with an expectation of, oh, I'm going to set up here and this is how this is going to turn out, it wasn't the end of the world when I got there, but it just kind of got me thinking about this and how that's so true in music as well. I would have been better off just being like, oh, I'm going to go find spots somewhere in the neighborhood. Let's look here, let's look there. It doesn't really matter what does or doesn't work because you'll end up somewhere cool eventually. I don't really have an agenda. When I sit down to write, I try to keep the agenda just to have a fulfilling session. If I can enter that flow state and feel fulfilled at any point during the writing process, it's a successful writing process. The outcome does not matter. And when you go in with a set expectation of what you want out of a given session, then you're making the outcome matter. You're putting pressure on yourself to reach a certain outcome, to get a certain result. And I don't think that's where the best stuff creatively comes from. I think the best stuff comes from a place of openness, where you're not putting pressure on yourself. You're just, oh, I'll try this. Now I'll try this. And you're just following this train of thought, and every idea is a stepping stone. That's another thing that really helped me have a great breakthrough, is that no idea is final. Just start thinking of every idea as a stepping stone to the next idea, and it helps you release that hold you have on needing everything to be perfect or how you want it to sound. If you're at a point and you're not liking it, that's okay. It's just a stepping stone to the next idea. And a lot of times you have to go through that to get to that final stage. And if at any point you're stopping yourself because you're thinking, oh, this isn't the kind of music I write, or this isn't what I want to make, then you're kind of limiting yourself to get past that point, past the mess, past the uncertainty, past the unknown, to reach greatness on the other side. And so I think it's not only important to go in without the expectations, but like embrace entering the process like that. Embrace showing up to your DAW and just saying, I don't know what's going to come out today, but I'm showing up and I'm open to whatever comes. And, just not holding yourself back, not limiting yourself to what you think you should or shouldn't do, and just really trusting that process. And, I think the reward can be a lot greater too when you show up without an outcome in mind, when you show up without any expectation of what your project should look at like at the end of the day. You'll surprise yourself. And that's one of the most rewarding things. Like, there's nothing I love more than ending a writing day and you take a step back and you finally kind of snap out of that flow state and you're like, wow, how did that come out? Like, I wasn't trying. I didn't plan for how this day was going to go. I just showed up, opened myself to whatever came, didn't think too hard about any particular step, just got in that flow state and went. And that to me is so much more enjoyable than showing up and being like, I want to make this kind of music today, and then trying to force it. Because, I've had days before I really embraced this way of thinking when I showed up in my studio. I would have days that I would go in and be like, oh, I'm going to make this, sick, deep dubstep song. And out would come a super mellow, melodic, down-tempo song. And I would try to push that back, being like, no, that's not what I wanted to make today. But you can't really decide what music calls to you in the moment. And also you shouldn't want to, because who knows what those projects would end up as if you had followed, your instincts and where the flow state was pulling you that day. Don't try to have a certain outcome as a goal. Instead, make your goal to be to just get lost in the moment, have fun, have a fulfilling session, whatever the thing that really draws you to music, have that be your goal. For me, it's just to get in that flow state and have that feeling of fulfillment. If I can achieve that, it doesn't matter if the song is a masterpiece or complete crap. I reached my goal of having a fulfilled session. I got into that flow state. I had that therapeutic experience. And that is, so much more important than any other outcome you could, try to create for yourself. Also, another thought on, expectation and stuff, you need to stay open to the music that calls you and the music that speaks to you. The music I'm making now is not what I thought I would be making. When I started making music about 7 years ago, I had no background, didn't believe I was a creative person. I came from nursing, had this total shift in life, and decided to give this music thing a shot. And so, of course, when I started out, I started trying to make the music that I listen to most, which is a great way to get started and start finding out, and finding your own voice and your own style. But, I thought that was going to be the music I was making. The stuff I'm making today is much different than that. And I think for a while I tried to push that down because I thought I knew I wanted what I wanted to make. But I really don't think you have a choice in that. You don't really have a choice in the music that becomes most fulfilling to you. And so, yes, making the stuff you like first is a great way to get started. And maybe that is the stuff that is most fulfilling for you. But as you're on this journey, you really need to pay attention and stay aware to the stuff that is truly calling to you, the stuff that sets your soul on fire. And so just stay open to that. And it's okay if what's most fulfilling to write for you to write isn't what you thought you'd be writing. Don't push that away. Lean into that. When you find those moments that are drawing you in and you can feel that in your soul and in your heart, stay true to that. Lean into that. Keep that going. Don't be afraid of it, even if it's so far off from what you thought you would be making or the music that you listen to. That's a good thing. Embrace that. Again, just don't go into any of this process with any kind of expectations. Expectations are only going to hold you back. And the sooner you can embrace that, the better off you'll be, the better music you'll make. I think just the happier of an artist you'll be, because your sessions, again, you'll be ending a day thinking, did that session fulfill me? Not, did I get the outcome I wanted? And if the session fulfilled you, that's a great day for me in my book.